Welcome to Philly Fortune Talks with your host, Jake Penny, where the city's brightest minds share the secrets behind their success. Are you ready to be inspired?
Are you ready to be inspired by a journey of resilience, creativity, and strategic growth? Join us in this episode as we sit down with Shawn Lowery, a real estate entrepreneur who has left his W-2 job at SEI Investments after earning his MBA and venturing into real estate investments. Shawn's path took him from single-family rentals to the world of syndication, learning the ropes through co-GP opportunities and expanding his expertise in multifamily investments. Discover how he overcame mental and financial struggles, honed his skills, and built a foundation for long-term wealth, all while sharing invaluable insights for aspiring real estate investors. This is a conversation you won't want to miss. Shawn, it's a pleasure to have you on Philly Fortune Talks.
Thanks, Jake. Great to be here.
So, Shawn, you've had quite a journey since leaving your W-2 job in 2006. What inspired you to make that leap into real estate, and how did you kind of navigate those initial challenges when you did that?
Hard to believe it's almost been 20 years. It feels like yesterday, and it feels like I'm still trying to figure things out. So I just had the itch for more freedom, cliche, but I found myself at the time, that was the last peak of the cycle in the real estate market. Found myself stealing every moment I could to read about real estate investing even back then. And it kind of led to my superiors recognizing that and kind of had a mutual opportunity to step out in a joint handshake kind of manner. And I took a risk. I think I had just gotten engaged. So I held that from my fiance for about 10 days before I told her that I had no job. And I also simultaneously, I had just knocked on the door of my neighbor's house. The gentleman unfortunately passed away, and bought the house from the family. That was the first investment I made. So it all just kind of happened at the same time and gave me permission in my mind just to go for it.
Wow. Did you ever when did real estate become a thing in your mind?
I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I remember as a kid, I would drive around, and whenever there was new construction, if the developer was tearing trees down, I would get angry. I'd be like, I'm never going to be a realtor. I hate real estate agents. It's like, I remember saying that, and then coincidentally, here I am. Go figure.
So you got your MBA at Villanova. Is there any influence that helped your approach with real estate investing and entrepreneurship?
I would say no, none that I thought about or connected the dots or recognized. It was just an opportunity. I was in the school mindset, and it was almost a complete free pass to go, paid by the employer, which I'm grateful for. Got us to be able to travel overseas in China. I met some good friends that are still friends today. So that was the best thing that came from that. But it was a great experience. It just didn't lead to anything in the corporate world for me.
So you transition from, single family, buying that neighbor's property, to appraising, sales, and eventually syndication, which is the bread and butter multifamily. What promoted this shift, and how did it kind of shape your investment philosophy?
Yeah, the single families were all I could wrap my mind around pursuing. Multifamily felt like it was too out of reach for me at that point in time mentally. But I was using creative techniques back then. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was going to dig meetings. Remember I met some, again, friends to this day that I met at those meetings, and that kind of shaped me. I think I just surrounded myself with single family investors. That's all I really talked about back then, and they helped me. But this one was just, my father always wanted to invest in real estate too. So he helped me fund the first several purchases or couple purchases, but they were scattered. They were the King of Prussia, where I lived at the time. Then there was a Reading property, Philadelphia. I mean, it just scattered with no real plan, but I just kind of went for it. So I don't know. I don't know what spurred the interest. I think it made sense. I think there was a lot of chatter about it. I was going to dig, and it felt like it allowed a lot more flexibility, which obviously it does. And that's why I just did it. But then, it was a winding path to this day. I mean, the appraising thing was, I was going to LATIP meetings. That's what it was. Just like networking groups for my wife's personal training business at the time. Here I am, like unemployed as a W-2, not making much money on real estate yet. So I'm like let me pretend I'm her business manager. But I met a home inspector that knew an appraiser that was booming at the time. So I jumped into that unpaid role. And that was cool. Did that for a year and a half until the market crashed, and then he let me go after I started earning money. And it was a great experience. We're good friends to this day too. So it's like just kind of going with the flow. Then I met a real estate agent at Dig that's like, hey, come check out Keller Williams. And my friend Dino, who I went to LaSalle with, was doing really well there. And then before I know it, I became a realtor, and that worked out because I just got let go as an appraiser. So that's the path. I just kind of went with it, what felt right at the time. But that the realtor thing kind of put the investing on hold into that was like 2008 till 2015.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool that your dad kind of helped you saw the vision as well and invested alongside of you. My dad thought I was batshit crazy. Like, that's so freaking risky. What are you doing? I just dropped out of college. And he was pretty pissed off. Taking on debt and all these things is bad and blah 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 blah. But
Have you convinced them otherwise?
now that we have a portfolio of over 100 rentals, he sees the good in it, but he's still like, oh, you're tens of millions of dollars in debt. You're crazy still. Like, how do you sleep at night? I'm like, dude, it's good debt at the end of the day as long as the tenants are paying for it.
Yeah. The support from my parents was, I shouldn't just say my dad, my mom too, of course. And they're both still with us today, which is awesome. And they invested in a recent deal with me, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, it was invaluable. And that's kind of how I've shaped my investing path, is through other people. I'm sure we'll touch on it, but it's been not only the financial help and the creativity that comes with that. So many things you can do. I think I don't remember really having a limiting belief. I guess there always is. Like there's a comfort zone where
Mm.
something feel like back then it was a small multi, I felt too big, out of reach, and now it's like a big multi feels out of reach. But it's a constant progression of pushing out, pushing through, and pushing out the comfort zone.
Yeah. And as someone like yourself who started with, flips, small residential properties, then small apartments, and now like bigger, larger apartment complexes through syndications, how did you adapt your strategy along the way for these opportunities?
It constantly evolves, and I think at times to my detriment, where I was trying too many things simultaneously.
Mhm.
Shiny penny syndrome. I think you've touched on that with other episodes,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's absolutely valid for me. And it's like I see some people that are playing in multiple sandboxes at the same time and doing really well, and I'm like, well, I guess I can do that too. And it's like it just whenever I focus on one thing at a time, I would shift my focus to something else, and then just scrape the surface on that, and then shift to something else and scrape the surface on that. So I think, and there's no regrets. I look back and I could have made different decisions, but every decision led to where I'm at today. And I'll say the same thing in 5 years, but it's like, for me, it's always people. So I can't attribute it to one thing, but if I had to generalize, it's like every opportunity, every deal I've done, always I can think of like one individual or a small group of individuals that allowed that to happen. Whether it was, and big thing for me is accountability, networking groups. And back, like it's like when I first started, it was in the syndication world. That concept, the light bulb just went completely off. I think that's probably when you and I first. I mean, we unfortunately haven't really connected that much, but I think I saw you at a One Life Fully Lived conference or a
Yeah.
GoBundance thing. And
Yeah.
I've always watched you from afar, just like admired what you guys are doing on social media. So just know that you have a fan here. So that's why I'm grateful to be on this. And I mean, we all have our unique paths, but for me, it was like to be around people, to see what was possible, and then to have their support in different ways was what allowed me to go at my pace.
And speaking about GoAbundance, can you share how your experience with GoAbundance has helped you overcome like limiting beliefs about needing, for instance, for specifically to real estate, right? You know, GoAbundance, awesome group, but they help you get through limiting beliefs and many, many other things. Can you share your experience and how that has helped you overcome like limiting beliefs about needing your own money for every deal? I think that's a big limiting belief for many, many real estate investors out there. They just think that, oh, they can't do any more deals because they don't have any more of their own money.
Right. Yeah, and I'd be curious to hear for you how that's worked as well. GoBundance, no doubt. I mean, they're very, when you get close with you get close at that level with different guys, you get to know them, take trips together. It's in your face. Like they'll call you. Like if they really respect you, they're gonna call. They called me out on. I remember a guy said, "Why are you always so nervous?" And like I know what he meant, and we talked a lot about that. But it's just like I'm the only one that's in my own way, and to have friends, comrades that can call me out on that in all for the greater good to help me, first of all, realize that and allow me to see other ways to look at things and to know that if I ask for help, unsurprisingly, it's going to be there more often. It's just the fear. So the stifling fear showed up for me in so many different ways, and I still carry that with me at times. And I like to be forthright about that. It's just the reality. So when it comes to money, yeah, it's like I think what I discovered is I was surprised how many people were interested in the topic, first of all, and in real estate investing, even when things were slower. So I think it's just a general topic of interest that people are curious about. And I think if you marry that with a level of integrity, and as you slowly but surely build a track record, I think it just comes down to those people are in your world. You just have to put yourself out there and either ask, attend the events. But it's like for me, it was just one little bit at a time. I mean, the first couple deals were 4 unit, a 6 unit, and I had one partner. I just asked, and it was mainly GoBundance guys at the time, so that was super cool to have that group there, that they knew me, and I built a reputation, a solid reputation within that group. So I think without that group, I don't know. I wonder, but it's like always, as more opportunities present themselves, it's just constantly going through that same process of just having the courage to be vulnerable and ask. And as long as you're true to your word, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the results.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and if anybody is in real estate and they have a network, obviously most people have a network, whether that's family, friends, foes, whatever. Well, not foes, but you get the point. Uh, um, most of the people like a lot of people want to be involved in real estate. They just don't know how. They don't have the knowledge, the skill set, the time, or the expertise. But they may have the money. So it's like, okay, you know you can teach them this, how they can invest in real estate passively without dealing with the 5 T's: tenants, bullets, termites, turnovers, and trash. Well, hey, and you get to share in the profits. So what better is that? And not have to deal with the ups and down roller coaster of the stock market. So hey, you know, like you said, just asking or like edutaining, make it educating and entertaining on how they can get involved.
Yeah, and I try to put myself in that position because I still find myself in that position. I mean, I come across opportunities that I want to put out there, and I still have to make sure. I think for what's helped for me now is that I become known for the lane that I focus on, and it's mainly multifamily. And then building connections with other people that I know, like, and trust that might be specialists in other asset classes. That's kind of how, where I'm at now as far as building those relationships. But when I was at a point where I had the opportunity, like, I know the cliche, you find the deal, the money will follow. I mean, and I've heard people argue about that, but it's like it's the reality for me. But it's also because I had a great reputation, and I still do. That's my belief anyway, because I know I speak the truth, and I know I'm gonna really dig deep on analysis to the point where I annoy a lot of people. But it's like I have to rally behind the assumptions of any deal before I ever present it. But it's like the opportunity has so much value, even if you don't have your own money. If you can bring that to the table and see it through to the end, I mean, there's just tremendous value in that.
Yeah, I agree. So, the whole, find a great deal, the money will follow or come to you. Like yourself, you've built a awesome tribe around you of, investors that know, like, and trust you. They know that, and partners as well. So it's like, yeah, of course. Like you find a good deal, people are going to invest because you built that track record. For someone just getting started, that may not be the case unless you have like you come from a silver spoon family and they're like, ah, yeah, we'll just throw a couple hundred grand at you. Go have fun, Johnny. But in the beginning, for some people getting started, that's not the case. But fortunately, there's lenders out there that specialize in that type of thing. Um, but for the based on what you've said before, it's like the last 2 years have kind of been quiet. So how do you stay motivated and focused during like slower periods?
Yeah, I love that question, and that's why I get really excited about that's when I start to realize the progress and appreciate the progress I've made mentally. So yes, there's still fear, there's still self-doubt. Yes, I'm constantly working on that and have my rituals and have my coaches and have my accountabilities and my mentors and yada yada, all important things. But for me, it's like I feel now that I have committed to one lane with some minor offshoots here and there, but still in the same general category. Like when you're focusing on one thing and one thing only, you just start to recognize opportunity. I think back a couple years ago when I had a 14 unit building that was a friend brought to me off market. And I analyzed so many deals, and Jake, you know this, like you analyze deals, and then when you finally see one on paper that makes sense, it like jumps off the desk at you, you know? So it's like that's why I'm so excited because I've been through the trenches and still am all the time on deal analysis, having the conversations with sellers directly, brokers. And so the past couple of years for me, yes, it has been slow. I do have a tribe of investors that want to participate. And my focus has been growing that tribe and making sure I stay a thought leader in the space and getting out of my comfort zone by hosting quarterly in-person meetups of my own and attending meetups and meeting and speaking at meetups and all the stuff that takes nights, takes time. But it's like at this point, I cannot wait until I have an opportunity that jumps off the page again and I get to bring it to this growing group of people.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
just putting the reps in now, like just kind of laying the foundation. Like that's the key. You know, it's like just building that database, maintaining that database, keeping in touch. Because 2 years go by, you better have other reasons to call, otherwise you're going to be forgotten. You know, so. But I have no regrets, man. Like I was tracking my offers. I don't know if you guys do that, but it's like I was tracking because I like to look back and see. Sometimes they don't sell and you might have an opportunity, but like I lost. It's been dozens of LOIs. It's been hundreds of deals analyzed, and it's fine. Like I have helped people that help me with that now, which is more leverage to not how, as my coach kind of pushed me to do, which has been awesome because now I have two sets of eyes looking at something that allows us to make a decision more quickly. So just getting more efficient, thinking of more team-based as time goes on to attract a semi-permanent team that we can rely on each other.
Yeah, it's super important. You mentioned mental and financial struggles on your journey, as everybody goes through that. What strategies have you used to kind of like push through these challenges and also maintain that, growth mindset that sometimes it's not so growth mindset at times?
Yeah, I have not maintained it at times, just to be straight up. And those that know me well know that. And that's like, I like to share that stuff because I know I'm not alone. And so for me, it's taken many forms. I think a lot of it ties back to financial. So there's I think Matt Aitchison has a podcast, and years ago there was a guy, Peter Sage, one of his first interviews on Millionaire Mindcast, and he talked about self-love and how an example of like if you tie your net worth or your the money you have in the bank as your self-worth, and that ties directly to, or there's a correlation between your financial situation and how you feel about yourself. That's a problem. I'm paraphrasing horribly, but it resonated with me, and I'll listen to that podcast probably every year just to refresh my memory. Because sometimes, when things are good, I'm feeling good, and when they're not as good, I feel bad, and I don't like that. So I'm still working through that because that can be a big hindrance for a lot of prospective investors that if they are not in a good financial situation, how dare they ask other people for money? And I've been living proof that that's not the case, because then it comes down to your relationship with those individuals, the level of trust. You can get creative with the equity splits, personal guarantees. There's ways to give people confidence, but for me, it's been coaches, groups, mentors, close friends, reading books, morning rituals that are off and on, my wife, my family, and it's not just one thing. And sometimes I'll go months and I'm just like, nah, I'm just just not there, just feeling down. And I'm like, why? And then I snap out of it. It's like, it stupid thing comes down to money. And I hate that. That's the reality. So I'm still working through that.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with it the same thing, similar thing. It's always just like, once you achieve a certain goal, it's like there and gone. Now it's like, well, what's the next best
Oh
thing?
my God. So true.
And you feel that high in that given moment when you should be, ecstatic for the rest of your life for achieving that goal. However, now it's gone, it's old news. What's next? And a friend of mine and a friend of yours from GoBundance, Mike Duffy, he helps me with that and like just putting everything in perspective and like bringing it back to the now. And I forget what the book is, but it talks about it like, you know, um, self-realization and being grateful and of where you've come from where you were. So
It's a big thing. Yeah. That's so true. I mean, the achievement of the objective, it's like deflating. It's the opposite of what I would expect. It's almost like the anticipation of it is more exciting than the actual realization of it. If you let yourself go that route, and that's essentially what I've done in most cases. So yeah, that's I think it's like it. That's why I feel overall it's the importance of surrounding myself with good people, staying engaged. Like I GoBundance I stepped out of last year, but it had been 7 years, and now I focus my energy on a couple different groups. But it's like nothing bad at all. Like I still keep in touch with the people I was closest with, and one day I look to get back in. But it served its purpose at the time, allowed me to think bigger, think different, and realize the most important things for me were family. My kids are 11 and 14 now. So when I started in GoBundance 2015 or so I mean, they're like, they were babies. So that's crazy. So I've always made a priority to put them first, no matter what's happening, so, and educate them on what I'm doing the best I can to the point where they're like, dad, stop, that kind of thing. But it's a constant, like I'm never going to stop with not make myself better, but just I don't I want to be honest with myself. What it comes down to is my own self-talk and what I'm saying to myself. If I'm not controlling the predominant thoughts in my mind, and I heard your interview with Rob Colwell, and like he takes it to the next level. And I coached with Rob for a while, so like I know him well, but it's like that. If I just let it go on its own like loop, it's predominantly negative just by default. I'm not sure how it is for you or anyone else. So it's like I found it'd be vital to control that. And that's where the miracle routine or the morning routine, when I do focus on that, makes a big difference. And nowadays, like I'll look in the mirror, I say I love you. Like I wake up with gratitude. Every day I go to bed with gratitude. Just simple things. But it's like it's all that time in between. Like what are the predominant thoughts? So it's like I have to. There's always opportunity to continue improving on that self-talk.
Yeah, without a doubt. For the longest time, I always thought, if I don't do my morning rituals by a certain time, the rest of the day is totally effed. And, that's just, I had these certain things that I needed to do before, 6 a.m. or whatever. And if I didn't do those things, I was totally screwed and like mentally and whatnot. And eventually grew out of that. But, it's funny you mentioned Rob. I'm up on the mic on Thursday, so he's gonna be like, "Oh, Jake, well, did you do this or did you do that?"
Nice.
So yeah, great guy. What are some like upcoming goals or things that you want to achieve for timber run properties in the coming years, and how do you plan to leverage your experience to take advantage of those future opportunities?
Yeah, that is, I would say, a little unclear, and where we have a family goal for achieving financial freedom, which is we're on the path. Uh, Not quite there yet. I wouldn't give myself 100% credit for it, but going to certainly achieve that. And for Timber Run Capital, it is, now that I've really picked my lane and I'm really happy with that, it's just constantly recognizing where my comfort zone lies and pushing through it. And I know that's kind of a generalized intention, more so than a goal. So I don't have like a number of units goal. I just have purposeful and intentional, consistent action of laying the foundation so that when the opportunities present themselves, A, I know I'll recognize them. B, I know I'll have a tribe of people that I trust that I can pull into the opportunity with me to take it down. And I just want to make sure that it's not self-doubt that's ever holding me back, because there's always ways to overcome that.
Oh yeah, there's always that demon that's talking to you every day, of self-doubt, trying to bring you down and ruin you. You just gotta, turn the other way and not listen to it.
Yeah, and it's like it could be conversations with brokers, as you get into larger deals, you start speaking with more sophisticated brokers. But what I found is like it's incredibly refreshing to have those conversations with brokers that are dealing with 100+ unit properties, and now they're selling a 20 unit property, and it's like they get it, they understand the underwriting, they're they understand how the real life expenses of operating a building, and they understand how syndications work and how equity splits work and prefs work. Like it's just what I've realized as I've met more and more brokers. It's like it. Yeah, I mean, obviously you close a deal, that's instant credibility, but it's the regular contact with them. I'll invite them to my meetups. I've had them speak at my meetups. I've had them on webinars. So it's like just again, just all part of laying the tracks so that they know who I am, I know who they are, get on a personal level, and then when the opportunity presents itself, go after it. So that's like the general goal. It's like, would I love to have a team that I say like Timber on Capital, it's this guy, this gal, this guy, yeah, and myself? Absolutely. And I think I don't think that's something you can force, because I do, maybe it's FOMO, but I see other groups that have achieved that. They have a permanent team and they're doing big things. And it's like, I got to just catch myself and not think negatively about that, because I think it's a great thing. I'm a huge believer in collaboration over competition. I like to learn from them. But it gives me something to strive for. So I'd say that's definitely on my mind, but a little unclear on. I figure it's just going to be relationships, building relationships, pursuing opportunities, and just naturally it's going to fall into place.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in like a few different syndication masterminds, and I always see like people building teams very, very quickly, and I'm like, oh man, well, you guys got it all set up already. That's interesting. Like, and then you have that self-doubt. It's like, oh, why didn't I set it up that quickly, or whatever it may
Yeah,
be.
that's yes.
Um, but I think a lot of those times it's just, they may jump into it too quickly. May if it works for some people. I'm just not that person that jumps in, head over heels, at a moment's notice. Got a date before we get married.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I really do, because I have in just in my dealings over the years in different groups, a lot of people jump in without even knowing what they're jumping into.
Yeah.
And to your point about, yeah, dating first, there's definitely merit in that. I think there's a GoBundance guy that whenever an opportunity would arise and that individual thought I had a connection with the person they were talking to, his methodology was to reach out to 3 people that person knows and ask them, hey, firsthand, what has your experience been like that? Kind of get like a credibility summary in their minds, if that makes sense. I really like that. So I think that accelerates your ability to make a decision to marry somebody professionally, to get kind of corroborate. Hey, if I talk to 3 people I trust that know this individual, have done dealings or have a personal interaction regularly, that's a pretty cool and simple way to be able to give yourself some confidence. That's what I do. I without that individual knowing, I'll just reach out and kind of go 3 deep and try to find several people that can give, if they're painting the same picture and I believe it feels sincere, then that's a great sign. But so many people, man, they literally jump in, and it's a conversation I'm having right now. Like, for example, let's say, Jake, you're offered, and that's one of the syndication groups, to, hey man, hop in here, raise some capital, be part of the asset management team, whatever. A lot of people won't even look at the assumptions for that deal. They won't look at the underwriting. And I'm in the school of belief that is incredibly risky, especially if you're raising capital from people that trust you. Like,
Yeah.
that's where when I say rally behind the assumptions, like people that have regularly underwritten or analyzed deals, know how you can easily tweak certain assumptions to make returns look a little better.
It's easy
Very
as a
simply.
spreadsheet cell. Like,
Yeah, and I've seen it. So it's like, and then when you see enough offerings, you kind of, get there's a guy in GoBundance, Pascal Wagner, that saves offering memorandums. I think he has like almost 200 of them.
wow.
So it's like you can get a quick, you can just like look at 20 of them and get a sense of like what are other groups doing. Like, so you got to kind of get a baseline for what the market is on GP side fees, on return expectations, things like that. So that's a pretty cool thing. But I forget what we were talking about.
That's all good. Um, you know, any advice you'd offer someone who's, kind of just getting started in their real estate investing journey?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say there's so many groups that the more consistently you show up, the more opportunities will come your way. So, myself as an operator, someone that's growing, I'm always looking for people that I see consistently that bring positive energy, because there's so many different ways to add value into a deal. I know that's cliche, and that still drives me crazy to this day. Well, what the heck does that mean? How do I add value? Well, let me give you some examples. Like, if you're well networked and you feel you can get opportunities in front of your people for raising capital, there's an obvious way. If you are great with swinging and hammer, there's a great way. If you want to handle the leasing of a property, there's a great way. You can be the construction manager. If you have net worth and liquidity and you want to sign on the debt, you can do that and earn some equity. Obviously, cold calling or finding the deals, I know you know that well. So it's like, but to me, it's if there's one thing, it would be to attend every meetup that you possibly can and show up consistently.
Nice. I like that advice. Definitely, growing your database, like you said earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
How can the audience connect with you, learn more about your journey in investments through Timber Run Capital?
Yeah, take a look at my website. It's GoTimberRun, GoTimberRun.com. I was hoping to have the ebook giveaway ready for that, and it's not ready. So, oh well. But anyway, you can connect with me through that page, and we can set up a call just to chat. I'd love to hear what's going on in your life and share any insight I can.
Awesome, Shawn. It was a pleasure having you on Philly Fortune Talks today.
Thanks very much, Jake.
Thanks for tuning in to Philly Fortune Talks with Jake Penny. Inspired to share your success story? Visit phillyfortunetalks.com/guest and let's inspire together.